In the meantime, Paxton, we have Tanya now. Let's go back to Tanya. Tanya, closing arguments wrapped up a few hours ago. What were your takeaways from both sides?
Well, what we heard is the defense arguing that this is a political witch hunt, that these were rogue employees who got together and concocted a story and listened to speculation and rumor, and that they just really didn't have any evidence. And that we also heard that this was something that was that this was just that they presented no evidence and that there really was nothing to back this up. And of course, on the prosecution, we're hearing that Ken Paxton violated his oath of office, and that he deserves to be removed, and that he allowed a criminal investigation to be conducted on behalf of his friend and campaign donor, Nate Paul. So let's take a listen to both sides and what they had to say this morning during closing arguments.
He is sitting here today saying that he was completely entitled to do what he did and that these witnesses were some part of some deep state conspiracy. But once again, Mr. Paxton's claims are divorced from reality. The fact that every action complained of would have benefited Nate Paul is not mere happenstance. As Mr. Paxton's counsel has said, there are no coincidences in Austin.
He has been a rock, and that office, the Office of Attorney General, has accomplished more than any Attorney General's office in the country. You heard it from the witness stand. Biden's policies come to die in Texas because Attorney General Ken Paxton.
And that's right, you just heard those closing arguments from both sides, and the Senate jurors have been deliberating now, looking at the clock, for just over 4 hours. And we have not heard anything from them yet, and we'll kind of see how this plays out. So I've got with me Bernadine Steptoe, our senior political producer, and Stephanie Alvarado, who is our legal analyst for the day. And just your thoughts about where things stand.
Well, I think that both the House and the prosecution did an excellent job in their closing of presenting their case. The defense primarily depended upon politics. Theirs was about telling the senators the impact it would have on the Republican Party, whereas the House relied a lot on the evidence. And I think that now we'll just have to wait and see which side worked best.
Stephanie, where do you see this going?
I agree with Bernadine. I think that the styles were very different, both very effective, very engaging. I have a tendency to think, like a lot of people think, that if minds were made up, they may have been changed today or may not. Maybe that's why they're taking so long. If you would consider 4 hours a long time for such an important decision, for something that's unprecedented. I don't think the weight of this escapes any of these senators. I think they know it's going to have lasting ramifications. In fact, Attorney Busby, that was one of the things he talked about. Let's be careful about the precedents that this sets. If we start impeaching, if we impeach my client, what does that mean for other people, other elected officials, and how are they going to conduct their business? Are they going to be afraid to do things because they're afraid that they will end up here trying to prove their innocence?
The other thing we saw was that Representative Leach, who is from Collin County, was the one that gave the final closing arguments from the prosecution side. Bernadine, why do you think the House impeachment managers chose to have him do that?
Because I think that they wanted Leach, which he did very well, to make a connection with the senators. Number one, he's from Collin County, so you have a number of those senators who are from Collin County that voted to impeach him. And I think that he wanted to say, hey, I'm friends. And then also he wanted to dispel the notion that the House impeached Paxton because they hated him. He talked about the friendship. He talked about their families doing activities together. He talked about them going to church. And I think he made that connection, that this is not about hate. This is about doing the right thing. And he even quoted Martin Luther King. I wish that I had that quote with me now because I'm very, very familiar with it. I don't know it without reading it, but it was so effective. Matter of fact, when I finished, I'm like, wow, and I was surprised. But as you said, you were not surprised, but I was surprised that they ended with him. Very good strategy. Very good strategy. The House said, okay, we've given you the evidence. Then they bring up Leach and they say, okay, I was not comfortable voting to impeach him, but I had to do my duty.
Okay. We're going to send it back to Chris and Izzy. Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Thank you, Tanya, and our team of experts. By the way, after deliberations, the Senate will return to open session for voting on those 16 articles of impeachment. Paxton has a lot of supporters in Collin County, where he has a home and deep roots.
Yeah, let's go to Jobin Punegar, who has been covering Collin County for more than a decade. Jobin, what are you hearing on your end?
Well, the impeachment trial has so many ties here to Collin County. Obviously, as you said, the Paxtons live here. Ken Paxton used to be a state senator, a former state rep from here. Angela Paxton is a current senator from here. And then you have the 5 representatives who are from Collin County who voted for those articles of impeachment from the House. And then you have the head of the House of Managers, Jeff Leach, as we just heard from. An impassioned plea in that closing arguments. He is also from here. We had a chance to speak with Abraham George, who is the Collin County GOP chair. The local party passed a resolution condemning the articles of impeachment. George says this impeachment trial has been a bad distraction and bad for the party, and it's all anyone can talk about, not the border or schools or inflation. He says precinct chairs are divided on this, donors are divided on this. That statement by Republican Chair Matt Rinaldi of an all-out civil war may have some truth to it. George says there is a very strong chance many local representatives who voted for articles of impeachment will be primaried.
It hurts the party, it hurts our donor class, it hurts our funding, it hurts everything. The party shouldn't be taking a stand during the primary, but I think this is going to be a year the party might do that.
Yeah, we did lose IFB.
All right, these things happen. We got all kinds of things coming in and out of our ears and like that, but we'll get back to Jobin in a bit. That was a lot of information, but even if you haven't been closely following the trial, we can help you get up to speed before the vote comes in. Stay with us for more in-depth coverage on WFAA News at 5 with more from Tanya as well as Teresa Woodard down in Austin.